Laptop versus phone. That's pretty crazy. Hey guys, I'm Untitled Chapter, and this is the new 2019 Acer Swift 7, and it is a stunning machine. For a start, it's the world's thinnest laptop at just 9.9 millimeters thick. It also weighs just 900 grams, or a little under 2 pounds, which is even less than the LG gram. So yeah, this thing is pretty small. I also really like the fact that you get this leather case with it, this little leather sleeve, which really adds to that sort of premium aesthetic. Now versus last year's Swift 7, Acer have seriously trimmed the bezels here. So we now get a beautiful 14-inch edge-to-edge screen. We've also got a much better precision touchpad, and they've added a new higher spec model with double the RAM and double the storage than before, with 16 gigs and 512 gigs respectively. So a couple of weeks ago, after my Dell XPS 15 review, I posted on Instagram saying that I was getting just, I don't know, a little bit bored of laptops, like there wasn't as much innovation in the laptop space as maybe there was in mobile phones, which I still think is kind of true, but it is good to see something just a little bit different here. Yes, there are compromises which we'll come to with this thin and light design, and do you need it to be this thin? Could you add a little bit more and get a better keyboard, better battery? Yes, you could, but at least Acer are pushing the boundaries, trying something a little bit different, trying to get those world records and push engineering and design, and you have to respect them for that. And so the first time you open this up and indeed pick it up, it really is a wow factor. And surprisingly, given how small it is, it actually feels pretty well built. There's no wasted space here. The screen goes edge to edge on all sides, bar a tiny little chin on the bottom, but it's a huge step up from last year, and we're looking at a 92% screen to body ratio. And in fact, Acer has reduced the overall depth of it by 20%. So we get a 14-inch 1080p IPS touchscreen, which covers 100% of the sRGB color gamut and peaks at 300 nits of brightness. To be honest, I am happy they stuck with 1080p because I think 4K at this size would be a bit overkill and it would completely destroy the battery life. I wish it was just a little bit brighter because, as you may be able to see here, that screen is very reflective. So you can first of all see your fingerprints from the touchscreen, but also if you're watching this on the train or out and about or in an office with lots of bright lights above you, then it can be a little tricky to see sometimes. So 300 nits is about average, but I would like it just a little bit brighter. The Swift 7 is also one of the first laptops to use Gorilla Glass 6, so that should make the screen a little bit more durable than most. Now let's talk performance, and versus last year's Swift 7, this new one isn't really that much faster. In fact, in Geekbench 4, the multi-core result is just 3.5% higher than last year's model, even though we have the newer i7 8500Y processor. So that Y suffix tells us it's one of Intel's ultra-low power chips. And overall performance is about half what you'd get from, say, the Dell XPS 13 with a U-series i7. And we do still get some throttling. I measured an average of about 1.8 GHz under load, which is obviously down from the quoted 3.9 GHz boost clock speed. So if you're happy to, I definitely undervolt this by maybe 100 millivolts. Still, having said all that, for everyday use, it feels really fast. I was editing photos in Lightroom, I had a bunch of Chrome tabs open, and it all ran pretty smoothly, helped by the 16 gigs of RAM and the NVMe SSD. But obviously, raw performance isn't exactly why you may want to buy the Swift 7. This is all about portability. There is another issue though, because under load, the top right of the keyboard can get really warm, like uncomfortably so. It's not the end of the world, and it is only when it's under load or doing lots of updates, but you do notice it when you're typing. And that's down to the fact that there's no active cooling here. So while it does get pretty hot in one corner, it does mean the Swift 7 is completely silent, so that's the trade-off. Now speaking of trade-offs, when you get a laptop this thin and this light, of course there are compromises. And first of all, it is very, very expensive. This model here will set you back around $1,600. Secondly, we have that low-power Y-series processor, so don't expect to edit 4K video or play games here. Thirdly, because the bezels are so thin, there's actually no room for a webcam up top, so instead we get a pop-out camera. Now that's great if you're worried about privacy, but not so great if you actually want to web chat with someone. Hi, this is shot on the webcam. You can probably tell by the angle, top left of the keyboard. It means that when I'm typing along and I'm doing a Skype call or something, you're literally seeing the top of my fingers. If not, you're looking at my nose. Either way, this is not a good viewpoint for the webcam. On the plus side, I guess you do get privacy because you can just push it away. And it also doesn't support Windows Hello, although the fingerprint reader that's built into the power button does have it, which is handy. And finally, as you'd expect, the keyboard does feel a little bit shallow. It's not too bad, we get about 1.1 mils of travel, and it is backlit, but it feels just a little bit plasticky and it is a little bit cramped. Most keys actually have a second use if you press it while holding the function key. For example, the arrow keys control brightness and volume. Now, if you are thinking about buying this to watch lots of videos and movies, then you may also want to have a good pair of headphones, because while the speaker quality is okay, it doesn't get very loud at all. I've actually been binge watching a bit of Mindhunters with this while I've been traveling, and obviously while that is a fairly quiet show anyway, it was absolutely unwatchable with the built-in speakers. Even with everything set to 100% in Netflix and on Windows, it was just too quiet. I could barely hear it, so I had to use a pair of headphones. Now, that's not the case for everything, and watching YouTube videos was fine, but it doesn't get very loud at all, and that is one of my bigger issues with the Swift 7. Although, again, if you are using headphones, whether it's plugged in via the USB-C or wireless, which I use, then that kind of negates that issue. One thing that is definitely better than last year, though, is the Touchpad. It's now a clickable precision touchpad, and it's a whopping 6 inches wide. But it is still pretty narrow, and every now and then my double clicks don't seem to register. But for normal use, the keyboard and touchpad are better than you'd expect given the size. Now, what about battery life? Well, the Swift 7 kept me company on a 4-hour Amtrak train journey from Boston to New York a few weeks ago, and with 50% brightness and the better battery power setting, and doing normal light tasks, over the 4 hours it dropped from 100% down to 38%. So overall, you can expect around 7 hours of light use from the Swift 7. Charging it back up isn't exactly fast, it takes around 3 hours to go from 0 to 100%. So yes, there are some compromises with having the world's thinnest and smallest laptop, or near enough. But I have to say, the Swift 7 is still a seriously impressive machine and a perfect travel companion. So if you do have pretty deep pockets and you want to be able to brag to your mates that yours is smaller than theirs, no, maybe not, I'm not sure that's such a good idea, but I would still definitely recommend the Swift 7, and if you do want to find out more, I've put links in the description below. But what do you think? Would you consider buying it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and that little notification bell so you don't miss out on my next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.